Let me tell you why I respect Candace Owens and also her influence in the rise of the black conservative. Because what Candace did was she gave the young black conservative a face. She gave the young black conservative personality and credibility. Because what she's doing is not new. Now, for anyone that knows, like, I'll tell you myself, for instance, and Justin Malone is another person who did a movie called Uncle Tom, a documentary in which Candace Owens is in. I think the documentary came out probably in 2019, 2020. But I'm going to say this to Justin Malone. If you happen to see this video, I know where you got your movie from. Look, I did a video called What Really Destroyed the Black Community back in 2015. And that was a huge hit on YouTube. And it was only maybe like a 10-minute very short doc, maybe 10, no more than 15 minutes that I did. And I chronically laid out, or more like sequentially laid out what put the black community in the position it was in back in 2015. And when I watched Justin Malone's video, Uncle Tom, there's no doubt in my mind he watched my video. There's a lot of YouTubers now, if you listen to them, I know that they took that from my video. Not only just that, even the Humanisphere guys, I know a lot of them got their some of their material from my book, or if they didn't get it from my book, the person they got it from my book. I wrote a book back in 2010 or back in 2009 when I was in college, and I talked about some of the sexism or discrimination against male students that I noticed. And I published this book and it became an Amazon bestseller, so much that I got an invite from Dr. Phil. I won't name the book because, my position has changed on a lot of that and I don't want to be tied to it. So anyway, back to the subject. I just wanted to mention those stuff. With Candace Owens now, what she's doing is not new. I can tell you, people that know me know that back in 2004, I did a documentary called Up by the Bootstraps about black Republicans. And I wanted to get more black people to consider or listen to the good old party, the Republican Party, and see if there was some benefits maybe the black community can get by voting conservative, because I felt the Democrats at that time had just taken the black vote for granted, which they still do a lot of times. So anyway, this documentary I did was called Up by the Bootstraps. This was 2004, so there was really no social media then. MySpace was probably the only social media out there. And there was no Facebook, there was no Instagram, there was no Twitter, there was no YouTube. So I didn't have much to market it with. I had to reach out to all the mainstream channels, and they shut the door on me. I reached out to all the mainstream radio stations. I reached out to Hot 97 in New York, Power 105, The Beat in LA. I reached out to all of them to try to get on this show to talk about my documentary and how I think people should really listen to it. And I got a thank you, but we're not interested. And one station I know was in New York. They told me no, but then the very next day they had a discussion on the issue. Should blacks vote Republican? And they strictly came from a left position on it to shut down the entire conversation, basically. So the only way I was able to screen this documentary was I went to the Metropolitan Republican Club in New York in Manhattan on 81st Street. The president at that time of the club was a black woman named Lolita Jackson. She was before Candace Owens. Young woman in her 20s, Lolita Jackson in New York. She was the president of the Metropolitan Republican Club in New York. I interviewed her. She allowed me to come up there and screen the documentary. And like I said, I don't even think Amazon was that big then. So I really had no vehicle to really sell this documentary. So what I did was I had to press up a lot of DVDs and I had to sell them basically word of mouth, out of my trunk. That's how I was able to sell the DVD. But now, forget it. And I'm proud of Justin Malone, that him and Candace, that they were able to take that position and give it a face and give it credibility, give it legs, where now you see pressure on the left now to do something about their position or the quality of their relationship with a lot of their black supporters. So now we see them creating heat there, and I appreciate that. But also, I can tell you from my experience that the And even now, you see that a lot of people hate Candace. A lot of people, I mean, Justin isn't as popular as her, but Kanye, you see, a lot of people do not like him. But there seems to be like this thing where what I don't like with, particularly in the black community, is if you don't vote left, if you're not Democrat, then you're the devil or you're evil. True story. I can tell you, I worked in leadership, 2 positions in leadership back to back for the same company. The first position I was in, and I'm going to say it, I had a white wife at that time, and another leader at that position, asked me, did I have pictures of my family? He said, oh, whatever. He didn't. I used to talk about her. We were going through my marital problems. Then he saw a picture. What he did was he ran back and told, I didn't know, he ran back and told one of the black women that was in leadership there that I had a white wife. So out of nowhere, I just noticed that whenever I tried to enforce policy, because that was my job in leadership, to staff the place, I always got met with resistance from a lot of the black women. If I had called out something that they did, whether they were not dressed appropriately or they were not following protocol, either be professional or like I said, policy or performance, they would immediately take me to HR and say that I was discriminating against them. I'm like, where's all of this coming from? It got so hostile for me, they started to just try to set me up to, it's like they mobilized and tried to come up with a plan to get me fired. And I remember I got a phone call from one of the men that was in the department, a young black man. And he called me. He said, Mitch, I want to talk to you off the record, but you can't say anything to anyone. And I said, what? Tell me. He said, I won't name the gentleman. I'll call him John Doe for this. John Doe showed Jane Doe a picture of your wife, and she told all the black women in there, and they hate you. And they said they're going to get together and try to get you fired. Please don't mention this to anyone. I was like, whoa, really? It's that serious? Now, I'm not demonizing black women, so don't anyone go there. I'm talking about this particular situation. All right? So I'm not talking about black women as a whole. All right? My mother's a black woman. I have 2 sisters. Anyway, so I left. I went to I did a lateral move into another leadership position. And I was talking to other leaders, and most of the leaders there were black. A few white guys, some Hispanics. Most of them were black. But I know that we were having a discussion. People know your position on things by little things you say. So I think by the little things I said, eventually, it said to me, Mitch, you sound like a Republican. Now listen. I can't say I'm Democrat or Republican. I vote for the party I believe whose morals align with mine, whose agenda aligns with mine. That's it. It could be, doesn't matter. But anyway, at that time, this was during the Trump-Hillary election. So lo and behold, I noticed that the climate for me got very hostile with my peers and with my leadership, who happened to be black. I noticed that they stopped giving me support to do my job. Here I am in charge of a team of 15 to 20 people, and I wasn't given the same resources that I noticed my colleagues were given when they needed to do their jobs. They kept tying my hands. No, we can't do that. We can't do that. I'm like, well, how do you expect me to be effective if you're tying my hands while I can't do my job? And then I realized that, yes, they were circling their wagons. So for anybody out there that does not believe that, because a lot of people believe that black people cannot be racist because they don't have the power to be. I can tell you as a black person, yes, we can be and we can be powerful. So we need to start giving ourselves more credit than that. We are not a helpless people with no powerless people. I refuse to believe that. I'm speaking from experience. They, again, seem to mobilize to try to get me fired. And so eventually I left that. environment. I hate sharing that story, but I know that there are other people out there who's probably experienced that same thing that I've experienced. And I tell you, always build your skills up. Never stop developing your skill. Always try to have more skill than your colleagues, because when you get tired of something, you've had enough, you want to be able to leave on your terms when you want to. And when you have a skill, it becomes that much easier. You get pitched offers. You can even do contract work. I've done plenty of contract work while working a 9-to-5 job, I was able to get other projects and work on projects besides having my own. And like I said, was able to start my own real estate, get into real estate and run a 4-unit building and then another 2-unit. And now recently I have another 2-unit I'm turning into a triplex. And when I was rooming out, I'm probably managing altogether, sometime you're looking at probably 20 tenants. That's a lot. That's a headache. And I was able to hire a property manager. So I tell you, never stop building your skills, because anytime the tide gets high, you will always be able to rise above it and swim. Not only just swim, because I don't like the idea of treading water, because like you're barely making it. You'll be able to surf. All right. So anyway, I hope you like, share, and subscribe. Coach Mitchell H. You can always click the link below if you want to know more about me or want to sign up for one of my real estate classes where I teach you how to open your own transitional house or recovery house or aged out youth group home. Thank you.